Hello, welcome to the Claret and Blue podcast. My name is Dan Rolinson, joined by Matt Kendrick this evening. And that funky intro music is far too positive for how we probably all feel this evening, as Villa return to European football with a rude awakening and a 3-2 defeat to Legia Warsaw. This is our live post-match reaction, where we'll look to do about half an hour this evening to talk through the biggest talking points from the game and a few little pieces around the edges as well. And we'll read some of your comments if we have time to get into them. Matt, how are you?
Just thinking, we did it as a pre-record, didn't we? On after the Palace match, because my Wi-Fi wasn't great, and I still, even though you had a chance to edit it, I still came out with opinions that were completely at odds with what everybody else thought. But if my Wi-Fi goes down tonight, it's probably an outage of people of Booking.com going under as people cancel those pre-booked trips to rooms in Athens. I think, isn't it? Yeah, it's just that we waited so long, and I know we played Hibs,
that doesn't count.
But this was Europe, wasn't it? Or it was. It's not past tense. We know. Let's not get too carried away. But this was our kind of grand return today, and it just fell flat, didn't it? It was just, I don't know. It's frustrating, and like I say, we come on and give it the very quick kind of hot take, if you like, and I'm struggling to quite comprehend why we perhaps didn't match the intensity of our hosts tonight.
Yeah, it feels like a very obvious analysis and something that should have been taken into account. That I know John did his bulletin episode either yesterday or this morning, and there was a quote from one of the Legia players saying that that it's like a David versus Goliath, and Villa have got to match our intensity and our application, or whatever the word for word quote was, and we didn't do that. And that feels like a very basic thing to not get right on your big, first European away day, to Europe properly. And maybe someone will identify this game away from home as probably one of the most difficult games in the group because of the atmosphere that's generated at the stadium. But the bare minimum of when you've got this kind of huge discrepancy between the two sides from a financial point of view, that what the quote about Moussa Diallo being worth 50 million and one of their players being 500,000 or whatever the figures were, the bare minimum you have to do is match the opposition for work rate and desire, because they will have that in abundance to make up for, quote unquote, a lack of quality. Villa didn't do that. They look sloppy, they look lax, they look off the pace. And yeah, probably a wake-up call, a rude awakening, whatever the phrase is. That's probably the overarching feeling for most, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, I don't know what 3-2 on your big day out is in Polish, but I should imagine that, that it seemed to be quite an atmosphere, didn't it, that they generated. But it's frustrating, isn't it? Because we keep saying, Emery's the master of European competition. That doesn't change by him losing, no. one group game in what will hopefully still recover to be a good campaign in Europe this year. But I just didn't see it coming. I didn't see that many goals, to be honest. But I thought, probably my naivety and ignorance about the Polish football, I didn't think that. I thought we'd probably kind of almost, our reserves would ease to a fairly, uneventful 2-0 win, to be honest. So it's...
No, I didn't feel like that at all. It was strange. I think probably some underestimated how difficult the game was going to be. And I still, I'm not making excuses here. Villa's side still has enough quality to beat Legia Warsaw and every team in the Conference League. Villa are one of the best teams in the competition. And as you've said, that hasn't changed just based off tonight. It's sort of very good side there. And hopefully this is the kick up the backside to kick into gear for the remainder of the competition. The bare minimum is Villa have got 5 games left in its competition. And if they keep performing like they did tonight, it'll only be 5 games. So they've got to fix up and quickly. And I'll back them to do that. But I haven't got it in front of me, and I wish I had, but their record at home is excellent. I know it's in the Polish division and a couple of, I imagine some European games from last season as well. I think they'd won 28 and drew 2 or whatever it was. They've been unbeaten for a long time anyway. So I never anticipated this to be a walk in the park for Villa with a reserve team. I think if Villa would have played their strongest side, it might have been slightly different, and Villa would have gone there and got the win. And we'll talk about the selection in a second. But I did feel like if we made too many changes from the start, this was going to be a lot more difficult than it had to be.
Yeah, it's performance in Poland, I think, since Matty Cash's Christmas ad, I think. But he's still there. I've lost you. You still there?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I got your joke there about Matty Cash's Christmas advert.
You get my joke? Am I still, because my Wi-Fi lost for a minute? I thought it was my computer choosing to shut me down. I suppose team selection. You know, you've said if Villa were full strength, would we have gone and got the job done in a professional manner? So, what was your kind of verdict when you saw? I suppose we probably expected him to make half a dozen changes, or to change half the team.
Yeah, I thought there might have been 2 or 3. I thought Martinez would play because he's your best goalkeeper, and that was a big part of it. What was it? 2 changes in the defence, Longley and Chambers, which is quite a big change. No Watkins, no Douglas Luiz. Yeah, I would have gone stronger personally, and that's very easy to say, isn't it? When we've just lost the game, I think if we'd have gone stronger, we'd have. I'm not saying if we'd have gone stronger, we'd have just would have won, because I don't think it's as simple as that. But I think we'd have had obviously a better chance. I think I would have approached it in the same way that we approached the Hibs game, that you win the tie in the first leg. I know it's different because it's a group game, but if you go there, and if you're looking at Legia Warsaw away as one of the difficult away games, if you go there and win or pick up a point, you're already kind of ahead of yourself for the group already. Having said that, Zrinski and Mostar, is it? They beat AZ Alkmaar tonight after being 3-0 down. So you're going to see some pretty crazy results in the European group stages. And I don't expect many neutrals are now thinking that Zrinski and Mostar are going to win the group after one game. So I also wouldn't expect people to write Villa off after losing one game either. They're good enough on paper to win the next 5 games in the competition in the group stages. But as we've seen tonight, it isn't as simple as that. And I think as long as Villa can get the job done in their home games, they should still qualify. And I don't think there's a need for a huge meltdown yet after one game. But this kind of big fanfare of returning to Europe, and the hard work that we had at the back end of last season to get here, to have that kind of doused on by a night out in Poland is very underwhelming.
Yeah, it was nice to hear the little jingle, the little European jingle back. So that kind of, I know it's not the same as the Champions League anthem, but that showed that we were back. But in terms of the team selection, I think this is going to be the dilemma that we face in Europe, Premier League, and the domestic cup competitions this year. It's that reserve team, or those understudies, looking at them in sheer quality, experience, what they've done, or what got is great, but it's how do you keep them fit enough and sharp enough and hungry if playing a handful of games rather than regular games. And I think we saw that a little bit, particularly, probably harsh to single him out, but I think he was at fault for a couple of the goals. Callum Chambers, if you see him tracking back or not quite tracking back for that second goal, that's like me at kind of Whalley Rugby Club on 5-a-side on a Sunday night. You can almost see him putting his hands up, saying, "Yeah, sorry, that's me. I should have got there." And when that's happening, the first one as well, he hasn't stopped the cross. I know it's Luca Dean who's lost his man, but this is the danger with. By their nature, your reserve players aren't going to be as good or as sharp as your first team players. And listen, we can all be wise after the event, can't we? But I think maybe you're right. Maybe it was 2 or 3 changes too many. We should have got the points in the bag, and then, like I say, it gives us a head start in the group. Yeah,
it's difficult, isn't it? Because you now look at it and go, well, we've made changes there, presumably thinking that we can go to Chelsea and get something and play our strongest side in the Premier League. Now, this is kind of harks back to the European game everyone talks about with O'Neill and Moscow, that you don't then back it up by winning games in the Premier League to secure top 4. I'm not just saying that if we lose to Chelsea on Sunday, you go, oh, we threw the game against Warsaw, now we've lost to Chelsea as well. But we've played a weaker side tonight, and we'll play a stronger side in the league to go there and win the game. So if we don't do that, I think that will annoy a few people. I don't want to get too downbeat about it, though, because I do think we'll still qualify and get through to the knockout stages. It's just there's a comment here, actually, from Adam. It says Emery underestimated them. So I'm not even sure it's that, to be honest. Do you? I don't know whether Emery would have underestimated them.
Did he overestimate
our
understudies?
Yeah. Possibly,
I don't know.
I think that some of the forwards we've got, in terms of like the backup, if you want to call it that, like Bailey, Duran looks decent. Zaniolo obviously started against Palace, but he might not start every week when Ramsey's now back fit and playing again. So I think some of the forward players, we do have good options, but the defenders that we have to rotate. I think if we're playing a defence of Longley, Chambers, and Dean, or 3 of those players are playing, I don't think we're going to win many games with those guys in the team.
It's this is very on brand for me, but it reminded me of when I was covering Villa back when we lost to Rapid Vienna under Kevin McDonald at Villa Park in the second leg. And I might have told this story on the podcast before, but I remember saying to Kevin McDonald in the press conference, either straight after the match or the following day, and I think it was Habib Beye and Curtis Davies, if I remember rightly, who had, I wouldn't say had stinkers, but weren't great. And I think I said something like, Kevin, some people have been suggesting that you shouldn't have played so and so and so and so. And he looked at me and said, "Who are these people, Matt?" And I was like, "Yeah, you've got me. It was me." I just imagine John having that conversation with Emery in Warsaw tonight. But yeah, listen, if we're the favourites in the competition, you would expect us to not get beaten in that match tonight. And
yeah, but obviously we all know that football is not as simple as that.
Yeah, this is why I'm probably trying to defend Emery a little bit in terms of, if we are the favourites, we should back ourselves to have a squad that can go and be competitive. Maybe that will influence his thinking in future rounds because we've got no margin for error now in this group.
Yeah, well, yeah, we've got our first home game in the Conference League is Rinci Mostar, who are top of the group now. So that's they were looked at as like the whipping boys of the group, and that still could happen. But that first game at Villa Park in Europe, after we've now lost the first one, is a big game. So you would expect that you don't rotate in that game and you go strong and you make sure you win that because there's going to be massive expectation on us to do so. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here massively. Let's talk about some positives because there are a couple. Obviously, Jacob Ramsey's back that we just mentioned, which is nice to see. Just talk through the goal first, Duran's goal. What did you make of that?
I thought it was really positive play by Zaniolo, to be honest. The way he turned and drove towards goal, I thought he got hold of it pretty well. I think it was a good save. And then Duran, I don't know, he's my favourite at the moment, or one of them, possibly because he's scoring goals. But he got like a kind of go-gadget neck, the way that he managed to readjust himself and generate the power and direction to get that in. And I thought then, as I did when we scored the second equaliser, and I think it was said on the commentary as well, that, okay, you've got a foot all back in the game, go and exert control. We've spoken before about Emery's, the real pluses of Emery's management is that he likes his team to exert control on the game. But we never really did have that. I think a lot of that has got to be giving credit to the opposition. I thought that they approached it in a really never tried to really bottle it up, did they? And think that they could sneak a kind of 1-0 win on the break against us. They play quite a brave way. Did you? I bet you do. I bet you don't even remember him. Do you know Eric Bristow? I thought their manager looked like a young Eric Bristow. Do you know Eric Bristow?
I know of him, yeah. And the terrible reason that I know why is because he was on I'm a Celebrity once. Remember that?
Oh, of course, yeah. I thought he got a bit of Eric Bristow about him, but yeah, it was just one of them, wasn't it? Just one of them.
I actually think that Duran goal is such a minor point now because we've lost the game, but maybe we'll look back at it and think, goal difference is important there. That at least we got the 2 back. I can't hope it doesn't come down to that. I thought that Duran goal was a very good finish from Duran, like very clever to jump the way he did and control it and head it down in the way that he did. I don't want to labour the point that's probably it is a minor now that we've lost the game. I think that's a really smart finish for a 19-year-old, and you could very easily just see him miss time in the jump and hitting him in the face or something silly, and you think, what a wasted chance that is. And he's reacted very well. I think that's a smart finish, and that I'm liking what I see from Duran so far. But the main topic of conversation is stop it defending, isn't it? We shot ourselves in the foot many, many times, and if you're going to go to these tough European away games, you don't concede 3 goals, do you? Because you're asking for trouble. However good Villa might be going forward, and they are, because defensively is a problem when they rotate, especially. If you've got to score 3+ goals to get something, it's already a very, very difficult task. So I think the key word that you've mentioned there is control, because that's something we've heard from Emery, particularly this season already. Villa weren't in control at any point during that game. We're always kind of chasing. We're always chasing our tails, and we're trying to get back in the game. And nothing happened after the 3rd goal. It felt like, I'm probably overreacting a bit there, but they scored the 3rd, and it was like, we're behind again, and we just really didn't do anything apart from the Bailey chance at the last kick of the game, and Ramsey had a shot go wide, didn't he, as well, that he probably should have done better with, but I put that down to rustiness from him. But yeah, just once they scored the third, it was kind of like, that's it now.
Didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the defensive thing is the issue, and I suppose it's hard to gain control of a game when you're conceding goals at the rate at which Villa have in recent weeks.
Conceded early again.
That wasn't really a feature of our kind of march up the table, if you like, last season. We're able to control games because we scored early, and then could almost use our plan A for the game. I think, in the same way that we said it was good that Villa showed the resilience and the mental toughness to come back from being behind on Saturday. They've done that again twice. It's a bit of a mountain to climb if you try and do it for a third time. I've seen some of the videos that John's put out today of some of the scenes around the city centre and stuff. And it looked like a brilliant trip, but it made me, on the commentary, I think one of the commentators said, I'm sure Villa fans have enjoyed it regardless of the, regardless of the results. I thought, no, mate, I'm sure probably enjoyed this afternoon, but I'm not sure they enjoyed this evening.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what some of the people who have gone over there think, because I suppose you're still making memories and whatnot, but if the game pans out the way it does, I'm not enjoying myself, regardless of how good the rest of the trip has been. Football always ruins it, doesn't it, with these away trips?
I went on a stag do to Warsaw once, and
did you? Nice.
I've got two abiding memories. One of them, I wouldn't have said this if we'd have won the game. I'd have spoken more about football, but one of them was, we have a tradition when my mates stag do's. We find a local grocery store and we just cover each other in as much crap food, stinking food as possible. And we tried to cling film a wet fish to my mate, and he was so against it because he didn't want that to be his aroma for the rest of the weekend. He nearly ran under a bus. So that was the one. And the other one, it all involves near-death experiences, actually. The other one, we went to this shooting range, in this indoor shooting range. There was just this middle-aged kind of fat bloke with a string vest on. And we had AK-47s, and I couldn't work out how to hold it. Couldn't work out how to hold it, and I nearly kind of mowed down all my mates, and I just ended up kind of taking shots at the ceiling. It was brilliant, but yeah. So, who's had the better time in Warsaw, eh? You Villa fan, you travelling Villa fans.
Did you see any massive gorillas saying "Welcome to the jungle" while you're over there?
What is this? I've not seen this bit. I saw something on Twitter. What's happened?
Yeah, the big tifo thing that they had, which everyone knows that Warsaw do that kind of thing in the pyrotechnics or whatever. It's a big, massive gorilla saying "Welcome to the jungle." I don't know why, really, but yeah.
What has that been? Has that been done by the same marketing man that says the giant is awake?
The giant is awake. The giant is most definitely not awake tonight, is it? Christ. Yeah, I don't really know what else to talk about football-wise, really, because we're going to go round and round in circles. The defending was poor. Some of the chances Villa made going forward, they should have done better with. It's a familiar story with the kind of things we've said before already this season, to be honest. Comment earlier on, I've scrolled past now, said, I thought Liverpool and Newcastle were supposed to be Villa's wake-up calls, and now we're talking about another one. It does kind of feel a little bit like that, how many more times are we just going to go, well, it's early season, we'll let them off, we'll be better next time. You can't keep saying that Villa do have to improve and quick, and largely if Villa do keep getting results, these kind of things do get forgotten. If we beat Chelsea, for example, it's not a huge deal, and if Villa still get through to the next round of the competition by winning 4 of the remaining 5 games, and everyone's happy and it's all good, and no one's really bothered. But yeah, just on that showing tonight, it's just a disappointing return to Europe, isn't it? After all the hype and all the expectation of what we were expecting. But like I said, the bigger picture, 5 games to go. Villa have still got the quality to win, a handful of those and still get through. Is there anyone else you want to talk about? Any match action, Dan?
Just in terms of the match action, did you think, I was going to ask you about the kind of couple of penalty shouts, because there was one where Konsa had a little tug on the shirt, or gave a little shove to one of their guys, and there was one where Duran, I thought, had his shirt pulled, and there was that tackle on Bailey as well, which it depends, probably from a Villa bias, it looked like it probably somewhere between a yellow and a red to me, but I don't know what that is. What's that? An orange?
Yeah, orange.
But I don't know what you
possibly.
thought about those ones.
It's one of those ones where you feel like you could probably think, I've seen them given on another day, and for whatever reason, they're not given today. And I don't know, I don't want to get too bogged down really in certain decisions. I think the Duran one should have been a penalty. The one I thought was interesting, I think it was, it's for one of their goals that they were looking at for being offside, and they showed that the lines that he was onside, but it didn't deflect off one of our players, so it wouldn't have been offside anyway.
Yeah, I suppose it's when he. I don't think he was offside anyway. I think it was level, so I suppose we probably could get bogged down with him. Do they have? What was I going to say? Do they have VAR?
I don't know. I think probably yes, but I don't know actually. It didn't. I don't think it specifically said VAR.
I don't know. It might have been blatantly obvious, but I was.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I don't know. To be honest,
anyway.
I can just say I don't know. Is my answer to that question? Emery was fuming though, wasn't he? Is one of the other things I was going to mention. That clip of him. I think it was after Dean gave the ball away. Possibly, I can't remember. But the clip is on Twitter anyway, doing the rounds from opposition fans as well, going, Emery's lost the plot and second season syndrome with Emery. He does well in 1 year, and then the second season he gets found out, yada yada yada, and that will be the narrative from others, of course. He was absolutely fuming though with whatever that piece of play was, and I would kill to be a fly on the wall in that dressing room after that tonight.
Yeah, he seemed like a kind of mafia don in The Godfather or something, actually having an absolute meltdown, didn't he? I think it was the third goal. Yeah, I suppose it's when your preparation is so meticulous and you give away cheap goals, and you have got this is his competition, isn't it? Or this is his stage, and he probably is in terms of English football. He is a man who's kind of after some kind of redemption, so he cares. I don't think it's a sign that he's lost the plot. I think it's a sign that he's frustrated that when he thought his vision had evolved so much and his philosophy last season, that we're having setbacks with a squad that he's worked with now for 6 or 8 months that we weren't having when he'd worked with them for 6 or 8 days. So I think it's just this frustration that's coming to the boil, and I feel it with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Should we talk about a couple of little bits around the edges from the games? We always say we're going to keep this half an hour. I think we can firmly say this will be half an hour under the way we're going here. We've talked about the bulk of the games, to be honest, and we'll have a show, I'll say later in the week, either tomorrow or Saturday, where we'll be looking ahead to Chelsea with John, and we'll obviously talk a bit more about this game if anyone cares, which I assume no one does. The kits, we've spoken about this before, but it's highlighted even more so that when we're on TV and playing in the game where the temperature is a little bit warmer. First of all, the no sponsor actually looked good. I like that no sponsor. Martinez's shirt in particular, awful. The big pink sticker covering the home shirt's not having a sponsor by before it's nice.
Like a marathon runner when they just pin the number on the front of it. It was like that.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Dan?
Go on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Can I ask you a question? I think you're going to be too. How old are you?
I'll be 28 in a couple of months.
So if I said to you, getting your Lifesavers badge at the local swimming baths, would that mean anything to you?
It rings a bell, yes.
So so when I was a kid, Christ,
60 years ago, yeah.
A long time, Tim baths and all that kind of stuff, yeah. when I was a kid, you used to get your badges and your stripes like 25 meters, 50 meters, whatever, and you used to get them sewn onto your trunks. Now, one of the badges you used to get, and I don't know why they did it, but you had to wear your pajamas and dive in the pool, retrieve a brick. I remember retrieving the brick, but there was no pajamas involved. That was a lot, and it was almost as if that's what Villa's kits look like after about 20 minutes. Look like they've jumped in a swimming. I can't understand it. Is it the fabric? Are they being greased up Adama Traore style with Vaseline before the game, or what? It's a really horrible, cheap, and nasty look.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments saying yes, pajamas and bricks. This rings a bell to a few of the viewers, which is good to see. Cloudy says, "You're 27, Dan." Yes, I am 27. I should have said that, shouldn't I? But I feel like I'm almost 28. And Tom said Dan's 22 at a push. I'm a big fan of yours, Tom. I've always said that. Yeah, I remember having to retrieve a brick going underwater, which I absolutely hated, but it was normal, just like swimming trunks or whatever. No pajamas when I was at school. Probably changed the rules, didn't they, since then? That it was a drowning risk or something. Rob, I've totally forgotten his name, and that's really bad because he's been on the show before. The Kit Man, Rob Warner. Sorry, Rob, if you're listening. I've seen him tweet about it a couple of times. We've said about trying to get him back onto the show to speak about this year's kits in a separate video away from football chat. So for those that aren't interested in that, they don't have to listen. But the shirts are bad. It's just bad quality, isn't it? I've seen someone say that it's like liquid isn't the right word, but it wicks away the liquid from the player's body, the sweat, so it gets off the player's body. But if it sticks to the shirts and the shirts stick to the body, sure, that's as uncomfortable as just being sweaty. And it just looks terrible and it must be horrible. So I'd be really interested to see what the cause of that is and if Villa can do anything about it. Can you not cancel the contract off that and say, those shirts this year were terrible, so forget the 5-year deal or whatever it is. We don't want to use you again because that was so bad. Yeah, just poor, isn't it? It looks crap.
Yeah, it's just not a good look, and I don't know. It just doesn't look very, because there's this thing, isn't there? And I'm probably stretching this narrative a little bit, but this thing about Roger Federer when he played at Wimbledon, he was immaculate and he could have played 5 sets, 3 or 4 tie breaks or whatever, and he still wouldn't look like almost this just graceful. We look the exact opposite. You know what I mean? We look like your mum's tried to call you in for your tea, but Mum, I'm fine. It's gonna rain. No, Mum, I'm fine. It just looks a mess.
Do you think it actually makes a difference? Because I personally, like when I go running and stuff, which isn't very often, if I get too warm and sweaty, I feel horrible. If I was running around with like this shirt that was stuck to me and like, I'm not saying it's massively heavy, but it's just weird, isn't it? It's not what you normally see from a football shirt, so it might be taking the moisture away from your body, but like I say, if it's sticking to the shirt and that's flapping around and you feel horrible, to me that'd get in my head a bit and I think I feel horrible here. Maybe that's why we lost the shirts.
Oh God.
Well, also on the shirts, very quickly, I saw this on social media, so this isn't my point. Obviously, Amy Martinez had the tape across here, whereas Villa's home shirts were they didn't have the sponsor on. I don't know why they couldn't just do a keeper kit like that. But anyway, because of gambling rules in Poland, apparently, which is fairly self-explanatory, and whether Villa could have done a nice gesture and put acorns on the front or a charitable foundation instead, as a way of here's some exposure for that company on our big return to football rather than having nothing at all. But football clubs doing nice things is probably not the in thing of 2023, is it? So that's probably never going to happen.
No, you don't know in terms of well, I presume they knew about these rules well in advance. But yes, we always wish these things on our football clubs, but it probably takes a little bit, quite a lot of foresight to do it. But yeah, it was the other thing I wanted to talk to you about away from kits was just what you made of like the TNT coverage, and putting Savage on as the co-commentator as well.
Yeah, you've kind of ruined my end of show outro note that I wrote down of what's more disappointing this evening: losing in our first game to Europe, or finding out that Robbie Savage is the co-commentator. It seems a bizarre decision. Ian Taylor was in the studio, wasn't he, with Joe Cole, which is a pretty strange matchup, but I thought Towles was decent, and I don't mind Joe Cole, to be fair. I was kind of half listening because I had other responsibilities from a work point of view. I was watching, but I had it kind of turned down. I saw some of the comments people were saying about like the commentary being ahead by a second or two, which is very, very annoying. I didn't quite get the full feeling of that. Because like I said, I was only half listening really, and I was just watching. Not far off being off mute, mainly because of Robbie Savage, to be honest. I thought, well, I don't really need to listen to him regardless. I don't really mind. It's nice to see Villa on TV when you can't get these games by other means, but I didn't really mind it, besides Savage being a bit of a strange shout.
Yeah, the commentary was annoying. I think they described the goal going in, a couple of the goals going in before we saw it on the pictures. I almost expected to hear my wife tell me off for leaving my plates all over the front room before she walked through the door. It was like that, one of those kind of things. But Yeah, I like Ian Taylor and Joe Cole, two Aston Villa legends, right there on the same sofa. But I thought it was good. I mean, Towles is the master diplomat, so it can be honest and critical in a very, without digging people out and throwing them under the bus kind of way. But because he's got that West Midlands twang like the rest of us, you can sense the disappointment and frustration even when he's speaking quite eloquently. So, yeah, I thought it was good. I thought, Savage, I think within the first 5 minutes said, "Oh, Villa fans won't want to hear this from me because I'm a blue nose kind of. I'm genuinely excited to be here." Then his commentator kind of dug him out and said, "Yeah, but if you could see him, he's got a kind of wry smile on his face at the moment, kind of thing." But yeah, it was.
I actually thought bits of the main commentary was
3-0.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, I actually thought bits of the main commentary were weird, and bits I heard, I don't know who that was, the main commentator, but there was a line of like Villa playing out from the back or something. It was like, is it Emery that's bought this way of playing in? And it's like, well, have you never seen a Villa game under Emery? Like, of course it was him. It's like, you get those things where you think you've not seen enough of us to be like passing judgment on us. I thought that was a little bit weird.
Yeah, another thing you said was something like starting this weekend, Villa play a run of four games out of 5 at home, and the other one is away at Wolverhampton Wanderers, so that doesn't really count. I thought, well, actually, Stamford Bridge probably counts as being an away game this weekend, so you haven't got to look too far down the fixture list. But
also, what I will say, what I will say to end, because we have run over half an hour, which I didn't think we'd do. I shouldn't be too harsh on TNT Sports in case Jeff Brazier is listening, who was I saw him interviewing Matty Cash and was doing some of the build-up. Possibly I wasn't watching from the very start, but he was involved in some ways at least. I woke up this morning to a tweet from him saying, "Great listenings to John Townley and Dan Rolinson on the Claret Blue podcast. Great research for tonight." And I replied back saying, "That's not what I expected to see." And I thought after Christ, poor bloke, if he's doing his research of our podcast, he could say something ridiculous tonight and think, well, I learned that off that podcast. So, Jeff, if you're listening, thank you for listening. And TNT Sports, great. Good job. Really, really, really enjoyed it. Never had a problem.
Exactly. I can't wait till the next match when he's talking about kind of lifesaver badge swimming shirts and that kind of thing. What a place to get your insight.
Yeah, exactly. Should we call it a day there? Is there anything else you want to mention?
I don't think there is, to be honest. I think I'm pretty much done. Yeah, just all in all a disappointing return, but it's early days, isn't it? So let's retrieve the situation with a good performance at the weekend. And then what's the next few games looks like? So we've got Chelsea away on Sunday. Then is it Everton in the Cup? I don't know. I've lost track.
Chelsea away, Everton in the Cup, Brighton at home on the Saturday.
You're frozen on the screen, Dan, so it looks a bit weird.
Yeah, it's your connection has been pretty terrible all night, to be honest, but we've managed to scrape through. So I'll read these fixtures and we'll do an outro. It's Chelsea away, Everton at home in the Cup, Brighton at home in the league on Saturday the 30th, Zrinjski Mostar at 5th of October, our European game at Villa Park, and then Wolves away before the international break. So 5 games to go, 3 in the league, 2 in the Cups, Carabao and Europa Conference League. Matt, thanks for joining me this evening. As always, there's loads of comments coming through, asking us questions and things for future episodes. People saying thoughts on the new Holt suite. This is not the time for us to get into that, but we will cover things like that in future episodes. Me and John will be linking up again either tomorrow or Saturday to look ahead to Chelsea, and obviously we'll be doing our post-match show for Chelsea on Sunday as well, before the Monday show on Monday, of course. So plenty of content coming up on Claret and Blue. Consider subscribing to the YouTube channel if you've enjoyed this, and follow us and like the video on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. It's all very much appreciated. Matt, thanks for joining me. Thanks everyone for watching along live, and we'll see you again very, very soon.